Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, back with another top 10 Magic the Gathering card countdown. Today we're going to delve into my top 10 Oath of the Gatewatch cards. And since this is pretty much cross-format, I want it to be criteria-wise a little bit more open. The idea being, look at cards that'll have broad impact, be most used in formats, be overall best design from top down, the card itself, mechanics, kind of overall my favorites of the set. And since of course it's subjective, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions as well. Let me know them down below in the comment section. Jumping into some honorable mentions first, Deep Fathom Skulker is Edric on steroids. Don't really know where it could fit constructed wise, but it seems like a casual powerhouse. Linvala the Preserver, a lot of people would probably have her on the top 10. For me, I think she doesn't really know what she wants. She's not Thragtusk in that she's not guaranteed value. She doesn't really fit control decks because control decks are constantly wiping the field and preventing your opponent from gaining the advantage it would require to make her as good as she's going to be. And if she's more of a mid-range card, well, do you really want to be behind in a mid-range style deck? I don't know. I don't really know where her identity is and where it's going to fit, and she's too much of a knife blade for me to decide. So she's on the honorable mentions list. Nyssa, Voice of Zendikar, seems really good with certain token strategies. She's good for support. Double entendre intended. She's good for support style decks, maybe hardened scales, kind of 1+1 tokenish strategies. Maybe we could see some kind of ban tokens or some kind of token strategy work with her. I don't think she's going to fit into aggressive strategies. I don't think she's going to fit into the ramp decks. Her other version from Origin is probably better for that kind of thing. Kozilek the Great Distortion, this one I'm probably going to get some flack for. I didn't put him on the top 10 list. For Commander, he may be a different situation. Here, I don't think he's there. He's very cool design, very interesting card, but honestly, I think Ulamog is going to be the preferred of the two most of the time because of the immediate board presence impact and the ability to be crazy powerful without having to be cast. Kozilek is good, not great when he's not cast, and when he's cast, the two wastes I think is going to be a potential pullback, drawback, cross format for him. Inverter of Truth, this card is weird. I like the design, it's really cool. Don't really know if it's going to get anywhere, but I like the design. Polytusk Trader of Get, same situation. Allies Vampire be a thing, maybe, I don't know, but he seems I wish he had something a little bit more to him than just Lifelink. Overwhelming Denial wraps it up. This is Final Word on steroids. I don't see it making maybe certain formats that Surge is more viable, but then it's a can't be countered counterspell, which is pretty good, but you need to have a deck that requires that, and I think in the more eternal formats it would have a better chance than not. Getting to the top 10 list, number 10 we have Storm Chaser Mage. This card, a hasty flyer prowess card for 2. I like that it's a 1/3 though. That's what I think is missed and makes it potentially modern playable because, of course, Lightning Bolt, Premier Removal. In that format, this card can dodge Lightning Bolt very easily. If it was a 1/2 or even a 2/2, then it would be more of a problem because your first spell you cast on your opponent tries to Lightning Bolt it, and if you cast a spell, then he would be a 3/3 and still die, and require 2 spells to save him, but the fact it only requires 1 spell to push him out of Lightning Bolt range is really big, and the fact that he's a flying haster that can very quickly in the blue-red colors, which fits, I think he's very possible to be played within Modern. He's strong, I think, as long as prowess is still around in Standard, and I'd love to see where he can be played outside, but I think he's underrated, especially given his rarity status. Mina and Den Wildborn. I really like this pairing, especially right now in the Standard environment particularly. 4 for a 4/4 in this aggressive, in the fact that we have so much ramp strategies going on, and this lets you play an extra land turn. Think about it. It's 4 for a 4/4 that lets you skip a turn ahead just when it comes into play. That's really strong, I think. And the fact that it gives trample to your Eldrazi, which is what I think about, makes it very powerful, I think, for Standard. It's also going to be, of course, Commander and Casual favorite. I don't really see it though necessarily going outside those formats. Then we have number 8, Goblin Dark Dwellers. This card is raw value. This is what Red wants. Having a strong menace creature drop on the field that lets you also recast, even if it's just a burn spell, that's pure value. I could definitely see this in a standardized mono red or red green kind of aggressive strategy. It can definitely get there. Number 7, we have Sphinx of the Final Word. This card is just big, balmy, impactful. It's definitely going to see play in Commander, definitely going to see play in well, not definitely, most likely going to see play in Standard just because it's so much upswing, so much value, and it deals with so many threats in the format, besides the fact that it makes your from then on, all your spells uncounterable. There's just so much raw value. This is a control or finishing card right here, and it's really amazing. Number 6, we have Shaundra Flamecaller. This is the first red planeswalker that I think we can say is, I'm not gonna run to great, but I think she's good because she's not just for red aggressive strategy, even though she can be a top of a curve for red, given that she creates 2/3/1s, which pushes through final damage, really helps, and leaves a 5 loyalty walker on the field. I like also that for control players, she allows you to dump your hand and draw that many cards if your hand's terrible, and if it's not terrible, if you're an aggressive player, it lets you re-get your hand. And I like she also involves a board wipe right off the bat, which allows you to deal with a lot of the weenie token strategies. Overall, I think she's very well balanced, great for a bunch of formats, and the art is amazing. Number 5, Sylvan Advocate. This guy, I don't know how far to run with him, but I think he's really good. 2 for 2/3 vigilance is definitely solid on the curve. He's also an ally, which is important, especially for standard/commander. The most important thing is that if you draw him later in the game, he is 2 for a 4/5 vigilance. That also can boost your land creatures. In standard, at least, that could mean a lot. But even if it's just himself, 2 for a 4/5 vigilance, I think that's modern playable potentially. A 2/3 vigilance is fine for 2, but also being able to drop it later and have that kind of value, I definitely think it has modern potential, and it's definitely standard playable. I really like the card. Wandering Fumarole comes in number 4. Actually, all the 3 lands are good, of course. Hissing Quagmire and the Needle one. Those are both good as well, but I think Wandering Fumarole is the best one of them all. One, because it's blue-red, and a great combination, as well as the fact that it's the 1/4, his becoming a 4/1 gives you potentially a lot of aggro and also a lot of control. It's a good defender, dodges bolt, and it can also be a very powerful attacker to get pushed through that extra damage you need in more aggressive strategies. I think it's the most balanced and the most likely to see play of the 3 lands, in my opinion. Could be wrong, just saying. Number 3, we have the Oaths. I like all the Oaths. They're all well designed, especially for formats like Commander, or even if some kind of Super Friends kind of deck. I think they work by themselves. Honestly, I think the best one is Oath of Nyssa. We've talked about this card during spoiler season, but the fact that it gives you a very functional card draw effectively for 1 mana, while also being able to give you mana flexibility, is really, really powerful. And I think this is going to be a 3 or 4 of in many of the decks many of the green related decks in standard. Number 2, we have Thought Nazi. I actually heard this card the first time. I thought it was Thought Nazi, which actually is funny because if you look what it does, you look at your opponent's hand and you take out a card and you exile it. So yeah. Anyway, 4 for a 4/4, huge stats while also getting a pseudo Thoughtseize effect that when it leaves play, your opponent draws a card. Very small downside, very efficient across a creature, very flexible in terms of the decks it can fit into. I really love the design. It's definitely going to make an impact across format, and I don't know if I'm looking forward to seeing this card in the coming years, but he seems really good. And number 1, in case anyone was wondering, it's Kozilek's Return. No surprise. This card is bonkers. It's insane. It does so much. Of course, it fits into Tron, which is the obvious choice. But really, any kind of massive creature drop scale kind of effect where you have these potentially have Ulamog or Imrakul or any of those, this gives you an instant speed sweeper that can come back and do an even later game sweeper. It's just so much value and so much there, and the art is amazing. This card, there's no words to say. The price on it alone is enough to explain why it's so ridiculous. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Fabulous card. So that's my top 10 list for Oath of the Gatewatch. I'd love to hear you guys think about it. If you enjoyed the video, please tap the like button. If you're new to the channel, check in and subscribe. I'm working on the top 10 Commander list for Oath of the Gatewatch, so stay tuned for that. And as always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.